Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Lindsay, and I teach in like central Pennsylvania. I actually teach in a career and tech ed school. And so we have 22 different career and tech ed programs, along with one academic subject here for our students. I've been in education for 17 years, and I was a social studies teacher. And then I switched into the role of instructional coach about 3 years ago, full time. I had done it for a little bit before that. So I lived the world of teaching and coaching for a little bit, but I've always been in career tech ed in my teaching experience. And so we have like a really particular group of students that we're working with and teachers that I now work with. So it's really interesting. It keeps things fun and exciting.
Love that. In your role as an instructional coach, what are some examples of how you see your teachers using Diffit in the classroom?
Our teachers are really interesting in that one day we might have somebody who was literally like laying brick as a mason, right? And then they decide they want to shift and they want to become a teacher. And to them, they think, I just need to like share this passion with this student and it'll be magical and I'll teach them, which maybe sometimes can happen. But in the real world, right? They're learning how to be teachers while they're actively teaching in the classroom. And so they get incredibly overwhelmed, which makes sense. We all know what goes into teaching and lesson planning and prepping. And so I have found that Diffit has been monumental in helping with teacher overwhelm. They have a starting off point where they can say to me, I'm really struggling with how I can present X, Y, and Z to my student. Literally using the masonry example, I had a teacher who wanted help for a substitute lesson plan of laying block corners. I don't know personally how to do that and how to teach students. And so Diffit, either whether it was the material that the teacher gave me, a PDF document, or if it was just using the AI to develop and create that, I was able to give him an example and then he could take that and run with it. And so Diffit has been so integral in helping a lot of our teachers who are learning to be teachers while they're actively doing it, being able to not feel overwhelmed. It gives them resources, it gives them something to start with, and then they can really take it from there to continue to teach the students on that concept. It's a great starting off point for our teachers.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd never really thought about it as this tool that can help teachers learn how to build those lessons and that curriculum and those supplemental resources for their
Yeah.
classroom. Just like figure out the details of teaching, right? The day
Yeah.
to day of what you need to prepare and do. And
Right.
such an interesting approach to using Diffit. And like, I'm just so excited to hear how useful it's been for you and your teachers. The next thing I wanted to ask you is in your role as an instructional coach, what tips would you give another instructional coach or maybe even another teacher who is looking to share Diffit with their colleagues?
So I discovered Diffit, I think, because of social media last year as AI was exploding. And there's so many programs out there, right? Like, what do you pick? What do you invest in? In my role as an instructional coach, a lot of what I do is professional development for our teachers. And so when we decided to embrace AI as teachers and like, how can we utilize it to support us? Diffit flew right to the top because of what I was saying, like just the resources that Diffit can provide, whether it's, like I said before, the starting off point, but a lot of teachers will then from there take it and create more on their own. I just help them to get started. And so the biggest thing I can say is really invest in getting a Diffit license for your school. I think it is comparable and the one of the best things that we could have invested in. When I was able to talk to my administration about it, we not only invested for this year, but like for the future, we already budgeted for it because it's so important to us and we're so excited about using it. And we tried out a whole lot of different opportunities and our teachers loved Diffit the most. When we signed up for Diffit gave us fantastic professional development opportunities. They gave us a fantastic slide deck that I could pull the slides that were necessary to show my teachers how to use it. I could use the entire thing. They gave me a timeline of like, here's what's going to happen now that you've signed up with us, and here's how it will go into effect, and here's how you get your teachers on board. They worked with me and communication was fantastic. But even just the resources after we all signed up, I was able to give it all to all my teachers. They even gave us a gift card that I could buy snacks to bribe them into the room to learn more about Divot, which really I didn't have to do. I had a full house. People wanted to learn. We were investing in this resource. And I think people wanted their lives to be a little bit easier. Like teaching is a tough career to be in. So to make one thing a little bit easier and to give them some additional resources have been fantastic.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm a former teacher myself, and finding ways to help teachers save time while still ensuring that they're getting high quality resources for the
Yes.
classroom is just so important to us as a company. Well, my last question for you is what do you think is the biggest benefit of using Diffit? If you were talking to a teacher who'd never used it before, never heard of it, what would you
Yeah.
say is the biggest benefit?
while it may seem, I mentioned a couple of times, it's a great starting off point. I think the thing I like the most about Diffit is that every activity that you're presented with once you go through the steps to get there is something that leads to critical thinking, which as a teacher was the biggest concern for me. In the end, I wanted my students to be critical thinkers, no matter what subject it was or what topic. And Diffit, everything that they do, whether it is like the bubble maps or the claims evidence reasoning, or might be just the image, and it seems simplistic, but the questions that are posed naturally within the Diffit activities and resources are ones that take it a level up. Like it's making our students really think and question. And that's what we want in education, right? We want to develop these critical thinkers. And so I love that about Diffit's product in that you're able to always assume it's going to be there. It also lets you edit it and make it, I could change the questions. But I think even just naturally, what is provided is fantastic. It's not surface level. It always asks us to go a little bit deeper. And that's what I love the most about it.
Lindsay, thank you so much for your time. I'm just so grateful to learn more about how you're using Diffit with your colleagues and just how it has benefited your teachers and the students in your classrooms.